I started making short films about machineries, giving them in some soul, making even romance between humans and old style analog machinery like trains, rockets. There's some kind of addiction between my characters and some of those means of transportation, rockets, planes. Maybe because it's connected to travel, maybe there's for me a liaison between those cinematic journeys and the physical journeys you do with a cable car. The change of point of view is interesting. When you are on a train or when you are in a cable car, it's almost like you have a dolly shot, but you don't need the dolly. Casting is really crucial for my films. As they don't have dialogue, I need actors who will feel confident performing without saying lines. And it's a kind of hard research I have to do. Already the audition process is so different than from any other films because you can't give the actors pages to read. You do improvisations with them, and some get it and some don't. And there are actors who are magnificent. I think they're even stronger when they don't have to give lines. One example is Denis Lavant from France. I knew him from Les Amants du Pont-Neuf, from Léos Carax, and I was so honored when he came for the audition for my first movie. I was like flabbergasted. He wasn't the age of Anton, but I just changed the screenplay for him. Actually auditioned for the older brother, and I thought I can't have Denis Lavant for a secondary character. I mean, I was so trembled and rewrote the script, and he just nailed it. It became a really different film. Like an 18-year-old person not going outside is not so weird like then Denis Lavant, who was 35, never put a footstep out of the bathhouse. That was kind of a tragedy. We became friends, and so also in the movie The Bra, he performs a very interesting character, and I hope I will work with him in the future. When I was 14, I watched the movie Day for Night by François Truffaut, and he shows how a movie is shot. The actors are actors in his film, but he himself plays the director. Jean-Pierre Léaud is the main actor. He falls in love with the script girl runs away with the stuntman. The main actress is scared that the main actor runs away, so they have sex. He calls her husband, and at the same time you see this crazy story, you learn about filmmaking. It's eye-opening. You see how a director established a shot, how lights are being set up. Before, I was consuming cinema, and that from that day on, I wanted to learn how are these films being made. I had no connection family-wise to the cinema industry, so I was so intrigued that I started to shoot my first short film the day after. And I read a lot about Truffaut, and I read his brilliant book, How Have You Done It, Mr. Hitchcock? And they talk a lot about dialogue and how dialogue is so separate from cinema that perfect films should have no dialogue. And I watched all the movies from Hitchcock and Truffaut, but they all have dialogue. And I thought, guys, why didn't you do it? And that triggered me to make films without dialogue. Even if I don't think all films in this world should be without dialogue, for me it's a challenge, it's a difficult task. At the same time, it's very rewarding when you succeed to complete a movie without words. Avoiding dialogue is a great chance to create sound design. Usually if you have dialogue, the sound is filled with people talking. Once you avoid the dialogue, you gain space to create an audio world. And it's actually much harder, much more work. Some critics wrote, I do silent movies, which is a crazy and it's insult for my sound people, because actually they work 3 or 4 times longer than on any other films to fill that space, to create that magic. And then for me it's amazing because I can travel with that same film to any countries. I don't need these subtitles. I don't need dubbing, which in some countries is still applied and ruins for me the original actor's expression. Subtitles also is a crazy thing, because you want to watch images. Instead, you sometimes have to concentrate on reading lines. I mean, especially some French films, they have so much talking that you can't actually look at the images because you're constantly reading. So I think the only way a film can be appreciated in the version you want as a creator, want to have the film being seen, is to avoid to use dialogue. And sometimes I succeeded. In some films it was difficult and I had to use dialogue. But I, in the same moment, understand that dialogue also forces you to use a much more conventional visual language, because then you feel that you should shoot the face of the actor talking, and then the other actor is talking, and then you cut to the other actor, and you start with a wider shot, and you approach, you make a closer shot, and this is like how it is in every movie every day. And once you get rid of it, it's like losing the chains which, you know, stuck you to the conventions, and then you're free to fly with the camera in time and in space. I finished school 1986 and I wanted to go to film school. I was forced to live in Berlin as there was no military service for Berliners at that time. It was still some historical thing that Berliners didn't have to go to the army. So I didn't want to go to the army, I moved to Berlin. But the Berlin Film School said you need to be 21, and I was 18 to enter the film school. So I applied to the Eastern Film School, Konrad Wolf, in Potsdam. But they rejected me, saying, you're coming from a capitalist country, non-socialist country, we wouldn't give you a place in our university. By some chance, a year later, I got an invitation from that Ministry of Culture in East Germany to come to East Germany to study theater directing. Just around the corner here, at Belforter Straße, at the Institute of Directing. And even if I didn't plan to become a theater director, I never became a theater director, for me that was a brilliant chance to move from over there, Wittenbergplatz, to over here, Prenzlauer Berg, where I'm actually living now as well, to experience a complete different universe. You know, I'm raised in West Germany, American lifestyle, and suddenly was member of another German society 5 miles away, behind the wall, living in East Germany, which was more different than as if I would travel to China or travel to Australia. I mean, the whole world was the same, but the East Bloc, the communist countries, they were very different. And I started to explore those countries, traveling to those countries. And actually my first film, Tuvalu, was shot in Bulgaria because I found that dilapidated swimming pool in Bulgaria. And when I shot Absurdistan, I was traveling many countries and finally ended up in Azerbaijan to shoot in a small village, Absurdistan. I mean, Baikonur, there wasn't a big choice. There is just one Baikonur, it's in Kazakhstan, so I shot there. And you know, while you shoot a movie, you find another place, a great location which is inspiring for you. And those locations, they are not frequently visited by film crews. While if I go in Berlin around my house, you know, you see trucks of film shootings every day. And you know, over there was Tom Tykwer, over there was Matthias Glasner. There's no space for me to share new locations with my audience. I want my audience to travel. They go to the cinema and I show them a country they never been. I show them places they never been. Actually, also they never can go because I mix locations. I combine places together. You have the interior in one place, the exterior in another place. In the swimming pool in Tuvalu was shot on 6 different places. Just for the staircase to go in the cellar, we traveled 100 kilometers to a dam to have that enormous staircase. So actually, the only way to go to this world which is created inside my head is you book a ticket for the cinema and then I take you on the journey. It's like, I love to share these discoveries. It's like treasure hunting. So very often location inspire me to make a movie about them. And then I think who's the character who should embody those stories, those places, and many times these are the workers who are connected to those places. My films are a lot about lonely people who make connections, like not the winners of the world. It's more like people like you and me who are lonely, who want to urge, who look for someone to share their life with, who struggle, who have problems to talk to someone, who are embarrassed. They connect. Maybe these kind of first connections are the magic moments for me. And actually these also the moments very often where you observe. I'm in the position of, not a voyeur who keeps on just looking. I like to overcome this voyeurism with real life communication. This kind of transition, how someone sees the object of desire and he stages, he creates something to attract the other person with, very original ways. Another revelation I had was watching Time of the Gypsies, and I still think the combination of Emir Kusturica and Goran Bregovic together creating art was so big, so unique, and I was very sad when those two guys split, because I think each one alone never create what they did together. And I was very glad to work with some of the artists like Miki Manojlović, Gordan Mihic, the writer, who wrote also Absurdistan and Gate to Heaven. The Balkans is a powder keg, as Goran Bregovic would say. Taking some of that infusion into a movie gives a good spice, especially in my films, which are very subtle. Some of that tension is very helpful. Even if I'm shooting in Georgia, I always would do casting in the Balkans. And I love to take actors like Vlasta Velisajevic in Absurdistan, like Bulgarian actors, Yamina Shishishkova in The Bra. They have something I cannot explain. Me as the director, I start watching them and I forget to say cut because I'm lost. Same was with Shulpan Khamatova in Tuvalu. I found her in Moscow when she was not famous yet. As I forgot to say cut in the audition, she went on inventing. The scene I gave her to improvise was finished, but she continued, and that was material I later asked her to do again because it was just better than what my simple author's brain had imagined. Before, the character was actually more an object of desire, and she turned to be a very active part in the film who's actually playing games with Denis Lavant, and that was really, really good for me, for the film. I'm in a very fortunate position that I'm producing and directing, which gives very unique freedom. I do not have to make compromises because producers would tell me to. I'm in the unfortunate position that my budgets are very small, but I discovered that this actually is a very good advantage. And during the years, I reduced my crews, and I am now on a point where I work with 5 or 6 people in the crew. I'm sometimes doing the sound at the same time as I'm directing, I'm driving the truck, and I feel very happy about it because I can sit with my crew in the evening at the dinner table and we discuss the work of the day. We can sit in one car, and if we see something on the way to the location, we just stop and shoot. I don't need to ask for permissions. I don't need to rearrange 5 trucks. And it also allows me, as a small crew isn't that expensive as a big crew, to have a longer shooting time. Sometimes I shoot 40 days, sometimes 50, and if it's necessary, I'm gonna shoot 60 days. That's creative time. That's freedom. It gives me the possibility to improvise, to try things. It doesn't give a pressure. That's the secret. Writing a script is very hard. I'm alone for a long time, and then I start sharing with writers the idea, and then it becomes a collaborative process, and then I would take the material again in my hands to write the final draft. I love to watch movies from all sorts of countries. I'm a big fan, for instance, of Iranian cinema. I'm a big admirer of former Soviet cinema. I'm a fan of Bakhtiar Nazarov, who recently died. I'm restoring his work at the moment, trying to bring that work back to the cinemas. Maybe sometimes I'm influenced by those work. I don't take direct references that I think, oh, now I should quote this director, but all this work resonate inside of me. And if those shots remind audience on some of those great masters, it can be that it somewhere was collected in my memory and I used that shot to give an homage subconsciously. Already my short films were played at festivals in the United States. I remember when I had world premiere of my surprise short film in Berlin. After 3 minutes, halfway through the film, a guy ran out of the cinema and, "Are you the director?" I said, "Yes." "You know Sundance?" I said, "Yes." "You are invited." That was John Cooper. And I went to Sundance the year after. And after I went to Berlin, Cannes, I went to Sundance, which I never repeated in my life. It was a 6-minute short. It was playing in the Egyptian cinema in front of Walking and Talking. It was snowstorm, and the producers of Walking and Talking struggled to get the print from Salt Lake City to Park City. My short film was appreciated very well, and there was a question answer for about 10 minutes. And whenever I wanted to leave stage, Geoffrey Gilmore came and said, "Stay upstairs, talk more," because the long feature film didn't arrive. And I think for my 6-minute short, I had a 30-minute stand-up show at the Egyptian in Park City, which started my love with American audiences, because American audiences are very passionate. And I went to the New York Film Festival as well with that short film. It was shown in the Avery Fisher Hall as a closing night event. I went to festivals. CineQuest was giving me first prize for the bra. I went to Cleveland. I went all around, even to small festivals, winning awards. and discussing with the audience. People are very passionate. They're really challenging me with the questions, and I tried the best to give my answers, and they will ask even more. And I really appreciate this, and I look forward to come again and talk to American audiences. So far I haven't made an adaptation of a book. At the moment I'm reading 1900 by Nino Haratischvili, a Georgian author. It's an amazing book and it deserves an amazing adaptation. Apart from the work we talked, I am working also on films for children. I did Fiddlesticks 2013.
That's us. And this is Fiddlesticks, our Coty. Together we are the Coty Gang.
Which won Traverse City Film Festival, Michael Moore's Festival. I am in post-production of a new film for kids, and I'm really talking films for kids, not for teenagers, which some people in Germany always confuse when they talk about children film. They talk about films for teenagers, but I want to cater the youngest, the 4 or 5-year-old children who haven't yet been to the cinema. I want to give them a live action experience, because that's something which doesn't exist anymore, which was a big tradition. For instance, the Czech films for children was amazing for me when I was a child. I think young children should not that I'm against Disney film, but I think children deserve more, not only animation. This is what people think when they think about children film, animation. But there's a possibility, and I try to dive in that world to create live action films for children. So my new project is inspired by my own film Fiddlesticks, because there was an animal, a coati, which created a world record, and I could see the children in the audience fascinated by that animal. This animal was for the children so much more interesting than my great actors I had in that film. I had all German stars lining up in that film, but the audience was just talking about this coati. So I wrote a story about a monkey escaping from the zoo called Akiko, the flying monkey, and all my actors are animals. So at the moment I'm working on that film, which will embody a cast of animals, and there's just a few roles for human beings. They will be the evil ones. The zoo director, the policemen who are chasing the monkey. It will be a fast and furious comedy of a monkey flying planes, driving racing cars, and escaping from the evil human beings. One of the most fundamental law of the cinema is all what you say instead of showing is lost for the audience. But it's very nice, you know. Now they don't do this